Greetings everybody, Gleekon here again with another episode of Lore of Warcraft. Okay, so we're kind of starting the final climactic arc of Beyond the Dark Portal. And that's really no matter where we look at it. We've got the Chronicles, we've got the novelization, and we have the expansion game itself. There are a couple other little things that we're going to touch on, but really they can come after the fact. But we do have a cool kind of audio drama that I'll bootleg version for you, like my little amateur version, although you can find cool professional ones on YouTube. But I'll do my little version if anybody's out there that particularly likes my terrible voices. And then we'll also read like a short story and before we start Warcraft 3. So go ahead and stay a while and listen to Gruul the Dragonkiller as we start this final arc. Gruul, anybody that played Burning Crusade, should be familiar to you guys. He's one of the large gronn in Blade's Edge Mountains. I'm pretty sure he's actually a raid boss. Gorgrond was inhospitable terrain, the perfect place for Deathwing to build a refuge from those who could not fly. He and his black dragons swooped down on the mountains in force, seeking out safe places for his eggs, which makes sense also that you have like the nether wing, because you have that in the twisting nether, but there's also lots of that Dragon Age stuff up in the little ogres type of stuff up in Blade's Edge, which is Gorgrond. Though the land was barren, it was not unoccupied. Gorgrond was home to the gronn, who had survived Draenor's slow decay. The mightiest of these giants was known as Gruul. He lorded over a number of ogres and lesser gronn who dwelled in the mountains. Gruul's kind were highly territorial, not prone to living in close proximity with one another, but the calamities that had befallen Draenor had changed them. The gronn now joined forces in order to survive, and back in the day, original Burning Crusade, they were a pain in the butt. Now they're whatever. Even if you're at level with them, they're just regular mobs, basically. Gruul and his followers had no intention of allowing intruders to conquer their home. They fought back, surprising the black dragons with their ferocity. Deathwing ignored the gronn, seeing them as little more than pests. He focused on finding a number of hiding places for his unhatched children, while the rest of his dragonflight fought the native creatures. His arrogance led to the ruination of his plans. While Deathwing was distracted, the sons of Lothar arrived in Gorgrond, searching for the skull of Gul'dan. The Alliance soldiers were deeply unsettled by what they had found. Battles between black dragons and gronn had resulted in many deaths. Gruul and his followers had taken to impaling their slain enemies on spikes, displaying their corpses to all. And that, when you go to that Blade's Edge Mountain, you can actually still see those impaled black dragons. The gronn nearly turned on the sons of Lothar with violence, but Khadgar and Turalyon were quickly able to demonstrate that the Alliance was also the enemy of the black dragonflight. They struck a simple bargain with Gruul. If he gave them safe passage through Gorgrond, they would help him defeat Deathwing. The gronn and the Alliance prepared an ambush at the largest cache of Deathwing's eggs, nestled in one of Gorgrond's barren valleys. The sons of Lothar wasted little time. They destroyed as many of the unguarded eggs as they could, hoping to lure Deathwing into the open. When Deathwing learned of their actions, he and his draconic followers appeared in the skies and unleashed their molten fury on the intruders. It was just the moment Gruul had been waiting for. The massive gronn scaled Gorgrond's mountains to battle Deathwing with his bare fists. Meanwhile, Khadgar lashed Deathwing with his arcane power, ripping apart the metal plates bolted to the black dragon aspect's spine. Deathwing's body began to come apart. Molten energies burst forth from his broken form, spilling fire and magma across Gorgrond. The pain was so great that it forced him to drop the skull of Gul'dan. If he had taken only a few more wounds, he might have died on Draenor that day. Instead, Deathwing abandoned his plans, flying straight back to Azeroth through the dark portal and over the heads of many startled Alliance soldiers. Interesting. So now he is still lurking, which is interesting for what happens with Cataclysm. So he's not coming from the Draenor. He's back on Azeroth. Deathwing would never forget what happened to him that day. He swore vengeance on those who had attacked him, particularly on Khadgar. As fighting continued between the gronn and the other black dragons, Khadgar and the rest of the sons of Lothar collected the skull of Gul'dan. Then they beat a hasty retreat. fearing that Gruul and his followers would turn on them once they had defeated the dragons. When the fighting in Gorgrond was done, most of the black dragons were dead or dying. Gruul reasserted his dominion over the land. His battle with Deathwing would earn him newfound respect among his followers, and he would become known as the Dragonkiller. So I wonder also if that molten magma spilling across Gorgrond, if that's how it becomes the Blade's Edge Mountains. They don't officially say that, but we're running out of time for this transformation, and so it's possible. Gruul, the Dragonkiller. Gruul faces Deathwing. Raid boss versus raid boss versus entire expansion boss. Pretty neat, pretty epic, and you can still fight both. Although technically they have been defeated in their respective timelines, you can still get them in active retail content. Cool, cool. All right, we got another episode in the pipe. 5x5. I thank you guys so much for listening, and I'll see you next time on Lore of Warcraft.